Am I audible to you all?
Yes.
Everybody ready to take a nap?
No.
When you are ready to take a nap, I'll start asking you questions. So better not take a nap. We are going to talk about what do we do in sprint planning. Once we are finished with that, I'll get into details about what is there in the sprint backlog and how it evolves. Alright, let me talk sprint planning. We all saw this is the first event. This event lays out the work. We decide the plan. The work. Do you remember the duration? 8 hours maximum. And do you remember the people who joined?
All.
Scrum team. And what happens to others?
If required. If required.
Others by invitation. So let me put it others and invitation. Now let us see how this event happens actually on the ground, so that come Monday morning you are able to perform your own sprint planning. So for sprint planning, like every other planning, we will consider some inputs, right? So if you are going to plan what is going to happen in this sprint, what are the inputs you will need? Any idea? What will you need? Let me give you first example. You will need the product backlog. Will you? So that becomes one input, product backlog. What else will you need?
Team capacity.
Product backlog will always be ordered. So yes.
Team capacity.
Yeah, I heard the word capacity. So you will need to know what is the available capacity. You know, we were discussing if the sprint is shorter, longer. So along with capacity. You will also need to know how you have been doing in the past sprints, right? How much work you were able to do, what were the challenges, what was your experiences, your historical data or past performance. Let me put it past performance. So past performance. One more thing you will want to consider is your quality measurements. What are your quality expectations? How much quality you need to put in? So that quality measurement in Scrum we call definition of done. How it gets updated, that will get tomorrow. But for now, our quality measurements, which is definition of done. So once we have these inputs, we start working on what happens in this Scrum event called sprint planning. This particular Scrum event has got three major parts. Part number 1 is called topic 1, which is why. So when the team is discussing the topic 1 or why, the way this goes is product owner recommends, okay, right now we are here and in order to make our product even more valuable in this sprint, this is what should be doing. This is what should be our goal. So that is topic 1, which is why. Once we know what is going to be our approximate goal, we decide, okay, in my product backlog, what I can select to meet this goal? What? So from why we get the what. Topic 2 is what. We have why, we have what. Then we discuss, okay, now we know these are the items we have to work upon in this sprint. How are we going to do the work? What is going to be our plan? Some further planning we do. The how. These, the why, what and how are called the three topics of sprint planning. And as an output, When you discuss the why, you get the goal of the sprint goal. When you discuss the what, you decide what items from the product backlog. So selected items. And when you discuss how, you get some further detailed plans. And these three things together, sprint goal, the selected items and the plan, we get one Scrum artifact. Which is this artifact?
Sprint backlog.
Sprint backlog. Sprint planning is this entire Scrum effect. So this together makes sprint. So sprint backlog becomes ready at the end of sprint planning. Any questions on anything that we have discussed here?
The goal is decided by the product owner to start with.
Product owner recommends that okay, we are here till this product, now what can we do? So if we are developing e-commerce website, the product owner may recommend that we have by till now done the login functionality and the payment card. Now I think the most value should be added by doing the payment integration. So can you feel we all will do payment integration? Together the developers and product owners, Scrum Master, together the Scrum team will decide. So product owner suggests, but the team decides. Does this make sense? Yes, sir.
Can you speak more about the how part of? Can you please speak more about the how part of this sprint planning?
How part of the sprint planning will give you details about the items you have selected. Say in the example that I was giving her, if we have selected payment integration as objective, sprint goal, we have decided that okay, payment integration is going to be in the form of American Express, Master and Visa. So these are our items. Then we make a plan. Okay, to integrate American Express, what do we need to do? Possibly we need to configure our database. We need to establish a API connectivity with American Express, whatever. That will become in the how part, the plan. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that also becomes an item. Or is it?
That stays as a plan. If it is big enough to be tracked as a separate backlog item for product backlog, it might go there. But for now, it stays as a part of this plan. So some people, sometimes I have heard calling it as a task. So any other questions? If there are no questions at this point, we are going to simulate a quick session of sprint planning so that you are confident about performing the sprint planning when it comes Monday morning. Ready?
Yes.
Because if you tell me that you don't want that, you get to answer a few questions. Better I do the work, right? Jokes apart, but doing it this way will answer some of the questions that you have. So let us get started. So we need a product backlog, right? Let us assume that the product we are working is improving all the meeting rooms in this Hyatt hotel. That's our product. So that becomes our product goal. Let me put it here, saying this is our product goal. So towards that I have already created some items because I know none of us is interior decorators. So let us not debate upon which items. But what I have put here is, for any meeting room to be good, we should have good quality chairs. We should have water bottles at all the tables. We should have good quality curtains, noise cancelling and good quality curtains so people can take good naps. Jokes apart, just good curtains. There should be enough flip charts available. Sneha writes like crazy. You should have flip charts for her. The carpet should be clean. So these are some of the items. This together, the product goal and the items together becomes what Scrum artifact? Correct. Now can we do all of these items for all the meeting rooms? take 3 days, 4 days? No? So let us assume our sprint length is 3 days, just assumption. So in 3 days, can we at least improve the look and feel of this room that we are sitting in? Yes. So that can become our sprint goal. So this was the first topic which gave you the sprint goal. And this is your topic number 1. Did you see? So what hat I was wearing right now when I explained you the product backlog and recommended you something and then asked your input, what hat I was wearing? Was I the product owner? So usually this is how a sprint planning will start. Product owner will give a brief background of where we are in the product development, what have we done till now, what can be the focus, and then the team together decides the sprint. Because if I am just interested in values, as a product owner, I might say, no, in 3 days, do all. Then, can I force you to do so? If I am the product owner, can I force you? Together the team decides, remember? Okay, so now that we have product backlog, we know the sprint goal. Let us see what items we can do from this to meet our sprint goal. So, capacity and past performance. So from our past performance, let us assume that we finish 5 items every sprint. Just let us assume. This becomes what people call as velocity or our past performance. But this is just January, people are just coming back and there are some people who are going on a vacation. So I know that only 75% of the capacity is available. So maybe we can do 3 or 4 items, not more than that, right? We consider our capacity. So we are considering all of these inputs. So let us see what we can do in this 3 days with this. Can we see if our chairs are good quality within 3 days? Can we do that? Alright. So let me put it here. Can we make sure that you call up the water bottles company, maybe say Bisleri, and make sure that you have enough bottles? Can I take this into our sprint plan?
Yes.
Alright. Can you improve the curtains in 3 days? Can I say that at least you will wash the curtains in 3 days, at least wash and put it under? So let me change the better curtains to wash. So what are we doing here? Sometimes during planning, developers may ask clarification or explanation and there might be some discussion between. Just because product owner suggests an item, it doesn't mean that developers say that okay, we will do it. They discuss together. That is why it's a joint exercise. So let us put wash the curtains. So should we be taking 3 or 4? How many items we should take for 3 days? 3? But if we do this, can we meet our sprint goal of improving look and feel of this room? Will the room look better with cleaner curtains and better chairs? So you want to take, she wants to take the 4th item also. What do you believe? Do we have bandwidth? No? Yes? What do we choose? You are the developers, you tell me. No. So we discuss together and decide what can be done. It is not a one-man show or one-woman show. So now that we have this part 2 or the selected items. By the way, the selected items are from which artifact? From product backlog. Let me just write PB here. Now let us see what plan. So to get good quality chairs, what will you need to do? Maybe contact the vendor. Maybe go sit on some chairs to see which one feels more comfortable. So you will make such plans or activities or tasks, something which will tell you what work you are going to do to make this. So which is the topic 3, how or the plan. So when we have done all of this together, we have an artifact. What is this artifact? Sprint backlog. Now, before we go ahead, does anybody has any question on whatever we have discussed? The inputs, the 3 topics, the outputs, any questions?
I have a question on how.
Go ahead.
So when we have the sprint items listed already, and we know that what are we going to do in this sprint, and how will we be defining the solutioning already? I mean, in the how, that is what we are doing, right?
Some amount of solution. She has hit a very nice topic. What she's saying is, will we be doing entire solutioning already? Answer to that is, whatever we know now, we will add it here. The idea will be, we should have enough information to get us started. Maybe get us started out of 3 days for the first day. At the end of the first day, we might think afterwards. So we get started. It may not give us the entire dot to dot work we have to do, but enough to get us. Does that answer you?
The only reason why this came to my mind is because what we do at the moment is I get the requirements, we decide the sprint, then we tell to the developers, and then they come up with all this how.
So maybe now you know, it might be a great idea to decide the sprint goal with them, so that they are also party and they are also working as a self-managed team. Alright, any other question please?
So we usually start with sprint planning, right?
Yes.
But we will need some planning at the product level as well, right? We are defining that product backlog, product goal. So some quantity of planning will be required at that level also, right?
Yes.
When our project will start.
So what he is asking is, for the initial level when we start, will there be some planning required? Do you remember our simulation, how we started? We first just started, had some backlog ready already, right? So usually there will be some work done before the first sprint starts, and even in the first sprint often time will be dedicated to refining the product backlog further, adding more details. Maybe the work gets done slightly lesser in the first sprint. It happens.
So that
But
will
yes.
come under first sprint only.
So yes, it should, whatever, see, it depends upon your organization. Sometimes the stakeholders and the product owners have started some preliminary work, and then the developers and others are identified and they join the bandwagon. Sometimes maybe a couple of developers are identified early and they start sprinting quickly. Maybe as some idea comes, other developers might join. So that will again depend on your organization.
But that might come from the design and discovery phase.
That if you have independent phases of design and discovery, yes. And
For
and
an
that
MVP maybe to start.
possibly you might have decided an MVP, possibly. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can we divide planning part, means initial planning, final planning?
Can you just raise your voice a little bit? I just heard initial planning, but
Okay, can we divide the planning part, means initial planning and final planning like that?
so you are talking that we divide the sprint planning into initial sprint plan and final sprint plan.
Like that.
So sprint planning is an event which happens on day 1. After that, we keep on adding, because more and more details we will keep on finding here. That okay, oh no, we said database configuration, but we forgot that before I have to install a server. So those kind of details might keep on getting added here, but they get added as a part of the day-to-day work. There is nothing called a finalized plan. It's always an evolving sprint backlog till the end of the sprint, and then it gets emptied the way we saw it earlier. Does that answer you? Alright, you have been asking me a lot of questions. Now I have to ask you one. So this topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. Do you think it has to happen like a sequential thing? Like topic 1 done, dusted, frozen. Then we take the topic 2, done, dusted, frozen. Then we take the topic 3. This is option number 1. Option number 2 is that okay, we make a guesstimate. This will be our sprint goal. Then we say okay, to meet this sprint goal, what can we choose? We say okay, these are the items. Then we suddenly decide, oh no, we took up too big a work, and then we go change the sprint goal again. Can it happen?
Yes.
It actually does happen. Especially it happens when we come to this section 3 or why or how. When we are trying to talk about the plan, we say, oh no, this is not going to happen in 2 weeks. Then we go back. So this why, what and how can happen in a cyclic motion. It's not necessary that it happens just as one single flow. You can go back, at any point and start discussion on the other topics also. The only rule is that the whole process is finished by the time your sprint planning ends. That's the only rule. Now, as a product owner, what are my accountabilities here?
Creating that product backlog.
Making sure, I agree with him, he is saying creating the product backlog. I have to make sure that there are enough items which can be taken. This product backlog exists, there are enough items which can be taken. Anything else during the event itself? Ordering I might have done before.
Definition of the
Answering clarifications, any questions, any clarifications, that's what a product owner will do. What will the developers do?
Understand the
Understand and the items. Anything else they will do?
Estimation, how much time?
commitment time.
I heard two things, I'll take both of them. Estimations I am hearing or sizing of the work. They can do it in this particular Scrum event. However, my personal experience goes that if the at least basics of estimations are done beforehand, sprint planning goes more smoothly. It's not rule that you cannot do it here, but it goes better if you have done it earlier. That's called refinement of product backlog, which we will discuss. You were saying committing. So they are forecasting is the term which we use often. They forecast that this is what we will be able to do. The difference between commitment and forecasting is, in forecasting they are saying, okay, this is what we think today and we will do our level best to finish this. But when I say commitment, it is not that, the written in the blood commitment that hang me if I don't finish this commitment. It's forecast which says we think we should be able to do this much and we will try our level best to do this. And what does Scrum Master do? Helping, facilitation, working. Do you think all the product owners and developers will be so nice? The product owner asks the developers and developers say no, product owner says yes team. Do you think it happens so nicely? Or even developers happily say yes product owner, we will do extra. Do you think it happens? So there will need to be some facilitation, some helping people to come to a common ground. Sometimes developers are young, they do not know enough to consider all of this. This is a Christmas sprint and even then they forecast the full capacity. Have your young developers done this? They do it sometimes. Or sometimes they undercommit, overcommit. The facilitation will have to be happening. Any doubts on sprint planning, please?
Also,
Definition of done, who will confirm that definition of done?
Definition of done is a quality measurement. So are you asking who will confirm during the work itself that it is met or not? Is that a
In planning
question?
phase, who will define the definition of
Who's the definition of done usually is defined even before the start of the sprint. If it is not defined, we will do it here, but ideally you know it to start with because that will impact how many items you choose, right? If I say that for improving the room, for every item you have to get a sign off from the CEO, then you will do less items only, no? So it is defined early and then the developers consider it during the inputs. Does that make sense? Alright.
Yeah, I have a question. So when is it decided that who picks which item? If there are 5 testers, 5 developers.
The topic 3 or the how, they will be deciding.
In planning itself, we assign
At least basics of it we might be deciding. Maybe we'll be, if there are 10 items, at least for the first 8 we might be deciding, first 6 we might be deciding. At least enough so that we get to start the work. So
during the
yeah. Who goes first? Salman, okay, you go first.
so during the sprint plan, also the Scrum team can plan the intermediate builds.
Intermediate increments. Yes,
No,
if they-
not increments. I'm just saying about the builds. So
integration of the code and creating a
So
build.
generally, we follow such kind of practice. Let's say we have a 10-day sprint. So during sprint plan itself, we fix the date of the builds. Let's say we are going to build on the test environment, and there are around 2 to 3 builds. So that will give us an idea that at the last build we are ready for the sprint review.
At least you might forecast.
Yeah, forecast.
You might forecast
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
given
that gives us an idea. I'm saying that.
Yes, because
Yeah.
that is where it will come in this topic 3.
Okay.
How? Yes, you're right. Does that answer your question?
So, if we consider a sprint is of 10 days, 10 working days, so should sprint planning be considered day 0 and then 10 working days, or day 1 is sprint planning and then the 9 actual working?
Yeah. So sprint planning happens as a part of the sprint itself. It is not happening before. So it is on day 1, and then how many hours ever you have spent are to be kept out of the rest of the planning you are doing. Does that answer your question?
Why do we add sprint into the Scrum events?
I'm sorry?
Why do we add sprint into Scrum events?
The question is, why do we add the sprint itself into the
Scrum.
It's called a container event where the other events are placed, and the reason is that we were discussing some time back that events give us an opportunity to inspect and adapt and develop a cadence. So this act of sprinting itself is giving us an opportunity to have the rest of the Scrum events and gives us that cadence. That is why. So can we take a quick quiz on sprint planning and then move on to sprint backlog?